would you think of a Dune musical, you know? Paul riding the sandworm and singing?
You have to recast the entire thing.
If you want to do a musical, I'll do a musical.
It's okay. I'm here. It's been a while since you've had one of those nightmares. Tell me, what was it about?
Timothy, I wonder how different it is the process for finding your way to portray a character for the first time from reconnecting with it after some time. So where did you start? And I don't know, did you remember the sandwalk?
Yeah, well, you know, I always felt close to the character. I think it was more assimilating into the tone of the movie once more and getting a sense of this universe, and I don't want to say the heaviness, but how seriously it's felt. Because I was coming from Wonka, where the world is fantastical and magical, and I just had to make sure my brain was sort of ratcheting up back into this sort of dark place that Paul Atreides is by the end of the first movie. Besides that, then once you're with the same characters, Lady Jessica, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, and Chani, they kind of get you going in the same headspace too. So there's a bit of a mental curve, but the character I always felt very close to.
What was really special about coming back this time, I think, was being able to have more time with the character, more time with Denis to kind of understand what his, I think, interpretation of Chani would be and what he sees for her. Being able to ask those questions, you know, even down to her hair, makeup, costumes, figuring out what her identity was and how she moves through through life. And I think that those things are just as important. I mean, I would always try to like get Denis to let me change my hair up, but he was very adamant that her hair stayed the same, and I think it was the right choice and very smart, because that's who she is. She's got less time to worry about that and more time to focus on much bigger things at hand. So it was really lovely to be able to come back and dig a little bit deeper into her and get to know her more.
The looks of every character in Dune says a lot about who they are, where they come from, and yours, of course, is hard to forget. So what the Fate's look communicated to you in terms of understanding his specific kind of evil?
That's a good question. I think this sparseness, you know, when you're asking me this now, I'm thinking, all right, so I don't have hair, very pale, you know, black teeth. And then you think of the light on that, on Gady Prime, on the planet. We shot that on an infrared camera.
Denis and Greg Fraser shot that on an infrared camera.
And so, yeah, I guess the sparseness of it, the brutality that he grew up in.
I think for Paul, the threat Fate Rauta presents to the universe, but also to his loved one in Chani, and the way he disparages her, or disparages Paul in regards to her both during the fight, you know, sort of is like a wake-up call for him. He feels so conflicted about a call to action that revolves around power and deification in a way that Fate's not. That when he does see Fate and how power-hungry he is, I think it's like I said, a wake-up call.
Very well said.
Yeah, thank you.
What we do for the benefit of all.
Well, I'd very much like to be equal to you.
Maybe I'll show you the way.
Gurney's role in Paul's life gets different in the second film, especially maybe as a much needed connection with the roots. So how did you and Timothy work this different tone of this relationship this time?
I think it was more Denis working with Timothy and Denis working with me about the history. Denis wanted it to be more organic, and I think that Timothy and I have our own relationship that is somewhat similar than between Gurney and Paul. You know, I am older, and he is a kid who kind of came onto Dune 1 going like, what is this, and wide-eyed and very available and very vulnerable. So I think when you end up doing a scene with Denis, I think he likes it to be as organic as possible.
Casting is a very, very important moment, one of the crucial moments of the film process. You cannot make mistake. It comes from a lot of research, thinking, reflection, and in order to find the right person for each character. There's no coincidences. It was a long process.
Florence, you're now in a universe with women who are very powerful, but in very distinct ways. What is the greatest power you found in your character?
I agree with you. I think that there are an unbelievable amount of very powerful, very intelligent women in this storyline, and they definitely push their way to get what they want. I think probably the most powerful thing about Irulan is that she she keeps her cards close to her chest, and she is constantly in her own mind calculating a way to figure out how to know more information, how to get to the top, how to keep power. And she doesn't do that in a loud way. She does that in a very, very quiet, almost scary way. But that's what I like about her. She's quietly listening.
Towards the ending of the film, in every scene, I was like hoping it was not the last one because I wanted to see more and more. So
Well, that's
it got me thinking, how does it work to choose where and how to stop the story, you know, and leave the rest for a future film?
For me, the ending of part 2 has always been like that. It was very important to finish the movie this way. I will not give any spoilers, but it's tremendously important to finish the movie in the way I did it, in order to convey, to be faithful to Frank Herbert's idea of the tragedy he wanted to express in the book.
And while you were developing the story, going back to the novel, was there some concept or scene that got you like, okay, this is going to be especially complex to adapt?
When you write that a human being will jump on a giant sandworm and try to master it and control it, you know that you're in trouble. And you know that it is gonna require weeks and weeks of thinking and R&D, research and development, and that a team will suffer a lot. It was very complex, yeah.
Feyd-Rautha, he's psychotic.
Just thinking that both of you now have good experience with very musical characters. So what would you think of a Dune musical, you know? Paul riding the sandworm and singing?
I think it'd be great. I think Josh Brolin would have to do the lyrics.
Yeah, he would do the lyrics.
Maybe Hans would do the music. You'd have to recast the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to get more musically inclined.
Yeah.
I wrote the lyrics for this song. Denis asked me to write the lyrics for this song, which when you write, which I love writing, but suddenly when there's that pressure, you know, you can't come up with anything. Anyway, I was sending him stuff, I was sending Hans stuff, but yeah, we'll do a musical. If you want to do a musical, I'll do a musical.
I imagine that being surrounded by that much sand has its particularities, but what is the one thing about being on a set so imponent that you couldn't even imagine before you actually get there and see?
I mean, I think when you read the books, there's obviously a lot of magical sci-fi things to the books, and you're trying to understand what, you know, certain technologies and things will look like. Even like I remember thinking of the shield that they use and how that would be manifested in our film, and little things like that that you think about in your head, but they never could even live up to like walking on a set and seeing what the amazing creatives who are behind this film have created. And obviously there's reference in the book, but I think the imagination it takes also to take the reference and then create something that's like literal in front of you and tangible and something that you can touch is really, really impressive. Walking onto these sets was yeah, they're massive. The scope is so big and the detail is so strong in color and depth and lighting, like everything. So it blows my mind that it can kind of be even better than what you might dream up in your head when you're reading a script or a book. But somehow they were able to do that, I think.
I want you to know I will love you as long as I breathe.
You will never lose me as long as you stay who you are.
One quick question, because the desert mouse has a special meaning in this film. So what animal would you choose to represent one another to become part of their names?
Oh.
That's a good thing. What animal would I get to represent you?
I don't know. What animal? I feel like you would be...
I'd want you to be like a long cat or something like that, like a long, like jungle cat.
Right? I like that. I feel like you would be like a beautiful, like colorful, like exotic bird of
Oh, I
sorts.
like that.
You know, who
That's
can like
great.
change colors
Yeah,
and
shape
stuff.
shift and stuff.
I don't think that even exists. But
Yeah, but we can
I've
make it up
decided
right
that it
here.
does.
To be part of your name.
Yeah,
Oh.
but like to one another.
Austin the Lion Butler.
Ooh, I like that.
The Lion.
Yeah.
Or the Lionheart.
I like that. I like that. For you.
Don't shade me.
No. I'm thinking of something cool. Like, what do you like? A wolf?
I like that. I would
Yeah.
definitely take a wolf.
And well, since you got back to the role of Thanos more recently, what if Thanos had to fight the Harkonnens? Who is the biggest psychopath?
Who's the biggest psychopath between Harkonnens and Thanos? I think Thanos. I mean, I think Thanos would do away with dudes like that.
It's incredible how the story of Dune not only remains up to date, but it seems closer and closer to reality. I don't know if it's ever gonna get outdated. So for this second part especially, what felt more connected to reality to you?
It has to do with just human foibles, and it has to do with us coming to terms with ourselves and our resilience and our resourcefulness. But I think ecologically, more than anything, I think Frank Herbert was a very ecologically aware person, and he says if we don't take care of our planet in the way that we need to, that we're going to be in a massive dire straits later on, and I think that that's proving to be true.
Dune has taught us that if you repeat your same steps too much, you're gonna get caught. How do you do to avoid that in your career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always try, I approach different genre. I try to tackle projects that are like, have in my mind that are like, explore different avenues that are very different from one to the other. It's just, I will not be happy to try to repeat something over and over and over. And that's why I think that it's the first time that I was going back in the same universe. I tried to make a movie that would be, as I respected the language of the first movie, what we established, I tried to respect it, but I tried to make, having this vocabulary, I tried to make something very different rhythm and different approach. I really tried to make a movie that will have its own identity, in order to not to repeat myself. Yeah.
As a storyteller yourself, what would you ask Frank Herbert if you could ask anything?
I hope I didn't fuck it up, Frank. Okay. I would have asked him if I was right with my intuition, trying to make sure that I respect his initial intention with doing a cautionary tale. And the movie is not a celebration; it's a warning.
This prophecy is how they enslave us!